Good day. Thank you for joining today's Dell Enterprise PowerEdge and PowerStore product update webinar session. My name is Ricky Pereira, a Dell Enterprise Manager at Pinnacle, looking after the pre-sales team from the full Dell Enterprise product portfolio. As you know, Pinnacle is a value-added distributor offering a range of enterprise products. Plus, we have our Pinnacle Enterprise Solutions team that will be able to assist you with any enterprise solutions that you or your company may need. In today's agenda, we will be presenting to you two of the latest Dell Enterprise solutions that have just been launched. First up, we have Michael Gumbu, a solution engineer at Dell South Africa. He'll bring you up to speed with Dell's latest PowerEdge server offering. Based on the new Intel Ice Lake processor, this product will modernize your customer servers infrastructure in a flash. Next up is Gerard Naidoo, partner system engineer at Dell South Africa, who will be sharing you Dell's latest storage solution, the PowerStore 500. This offering will transform your customers' data need and accelerate your customers' digital transformation journey. Again, thank you for joining us. We hope you find today's session valuable. May I present Michael Gumbu, Solutions Engineer for Data Center and Compute Products at Dell Technologies.
When systems work together intelligently, across environments, and create a comprehensive view of your infrastructure, you can adapt and innovate like never before. Together, we stop at nothing, so nothing's in your way. The new generation of PowerEdge servers.
Thank you, Ricky, for the introduction. As Ricky has mentioned, my name is Michael Gumbu. I'm the solutions engineer looking after the data center compute and networking portion for Dell after distribution and SIDEC. In today's webinar, I will be taking you through our latest offering, which is PowerEdge 50G servers. I will be speaking around some of the positioning around these new models that we have launched, some of the typical workloads that we are aiming at, and some of the new features that came about with the 15G servers. So this will include both our rack and our modular platforms, and we will go into detail on all these sort of new features that we have. To start it off, we need to firstly understand what's driving value for your organizations. Now, some of the key things that organizations that are looking at are operations, clouds, and the type of workloads that they have. Now, when we speak around operations, what we refer to is how the actual operations of the organization in terms of managing people, managing resources, and automating the provisioning and delivering of IT resources, which consumes quite a lot of time. Now, you need to come up with clever ways of doing such. We're looking at clouds, embracing a hybrid cloud as an operating model, looking at workloads, optimizing the hardware or the infrastructure depending on the type of workloads that you have. Now, and also we have new phenomena or new technologies that have come about, looking at AI and edge. Now, you as an organization, you need to take advantage of such new technologies. Now, you need an infrastructure that can help you modernize, but also allow you to adapt and take advantage of all these new technologies that are coming. When we look at the past year or so, we've went through a pandemic with COVID playing a major role in catalyzing the need for change. With COVID basically putting a stop on most of the world, it also has allowed technology barriers to be pushed. And we've seen a lot of change happen in the past year. Either it's now having a whole lot more workforce working from home, the increase in social media use, the increase in adoption of new technologies like blockchain, AI, to assist organizations in creating all those new workflows or workloads. Now, as an organization, you need to do several things. One of the key things that you need to do is to deliver IT with an agility of cloud so that you can achieve outcomes for any workloads anywhere. Now, we can help you realize both with Dell Technologies PowerEdge servers and infrastructure solutions. And this is where today we'll be going into detail on how do we help you achieve such using the Dell PowerEdge portfolio. Pushing ahead with PowerEdge now, from fine-tuning to new workload-focused platforms. This is what makes up 15G. A lot of the newer platforms are workload-focused, and we will go into detail when we get to those specific models. Now, what Dell Technologies can help empower you with is take full advantage of the latest advances in technology. This will be including in 15G. Make steps towards full infrastructure automation. And lastly, another key role, which is to achieve confidence through systems and software design with security as a priority. Now, looking at what makes the PowerEdge portfolio, as we have termed it, your innovation engine now, there are three main key pillars that are used to build up this PowerEdge portfolio. That being adaptive compute, autonomous compute infrastructure, and proactive resilience. Now, I'll just go into detail on each in the next few slides. Now, looking at adaptive compute generally speaks to infrastructure that is adaptable to newer technologies to help you cater for those newer workloads. Everyone has mentioned we're speaking about AI and edge. Now, for you, in order to take advantage of those newer technologies, there's specific feature sets that within your infrastructure you need to be able to support in order to take full advantage. And some of those feature sets are what we have here that are new on the PowerEdge 15G portfolio, including Dell multi-vector cooling, which has now improved airflows into the system to allow you to cool your hardware or platforms. Now, if you can have a look at this or think about it, with all the newer technologies that are going into the systems, this is NVDIMMs, this is NVMEs, as 64-core CPUs, you can already imagine the amount of heat that's generated within the systems. So you need to have a different design when it comes to how you get to cool all of these different components that are within your infrastructure. Now, Dell multi-vector cooling helps with that. Hence, we've also now taken a further step and introduced Dell direct liquid cooling, which allows you to make use of liquid to cool your servers. This requires a bit more infrastructure in terms of the type of rack that you have in order for it to allow the flow of liquid into the systems and out of the systems. We have Dell LeakSense. We have thermal designs which go in hand with the multi-vector cooling. And also, we're focusing on acceleration with the use or support of newer GPU technologies. GPUs are becoming the common and most used technology feature to help you adapt newer technologies such as AI, and machine learning. Now, looking at autonomous compute infrastructure, work streams to full automation. This is helping you provision workloads within your organization seamlessly by automating most of this process and eliminating human touch, providing means of self-healing from the systems so that any issues that are detected can be recovered without manual intervention. Self-optimizing and self-maintaining becomes some of the key aspects within an autonomous compute infrastructure. And lastly, we look at proactive resilience with an end-to-end supply chain assurance. This speaks particularly to the security that's built into our PowerEdge systems, which are included as a silicon root of trust from the beginning of the supply chain to the end. This includes both hardware security and firmware security, including data at rest, data in transit encryption, and all those similar technologies to make sure that these platforms are the most secure and you are able to put your most critical data on them. We will now go into detail to the PowerEdge models, 15G models that have been launched in the past month or so. These are both the ones that are based on Intel's third generation CPUs called Ice Lake, and AMD's third generation CPUs, which are codenamed Milan. Now, looking at the Dell EMC portfolio for 15G servers, as you can see, as we have mentioned before, these servers are categorized into different workload streams, right? Or specialized formats. If you look at your top left, where we have specialized systems for edge and telco, we have the XR11 and the XR12, which are specifically built around telcos in mind. Now, if you can think of the environments that systems that are required to work within the telco, this could be out in the open, in the towers that telcos have, across different types of regions. Now, those different types of regions comes with different type of environmental aspects that these servers have to or are exposed to. Now, they have to have some form of resistance according to the environment they are, whether it's an environment where they're exposed to dust, exposed to liquid, exposed to shock. So these systems are catered for such environment, and with a specific form factor. This is not a traditional server form factor that goes into a rack that's within the telco space. It's a specialized one. So now these two systems, the XR11 and XR12, are built specifically around that. Now, on the top right hand, we have specialized for GPU optimized. As you have said, for workloads that require intensive, calculations, workloads similar to VDI clusters that require a lot of GPU power, you have those two systems that are particularly strictly for GPU optimized. You have the R750XA, which is an Intel-based CPU on the third generation Ice Lake Intel, and then you have the XE8545, which is based on AMD's third generation Milan processors. Now, both can take up to 4 NVIDIA GPUs. Now, as you go to the bottom left, you have a range of our rack servers for mostly your general workloads, but that also is geared towards specific workloads. And you will see now we will have models that are new that we never had before. Now, this is a very important slide in that now you will see all the different models starting from the R450 all the way up to the R750, right? Starting off with the R450 and the R550, which will be our two circuit systems, and then you have the R751 and the R651, which is the AMD single sockets, and then you will have a new offering that we've never had before, which will be the 750XS and the R650XS. Now, these are new platforms that are optimized for specific workloads. Now, if you think moving between the 640 and the 740, or 650 and the 750 was quite a big jump in terms of supportability of features, in terms of price. Now, the 750XS and the 650XS sort of bridge that gap in providing you with a bit of a limited number of features or supportability in terms of CPU, PCI slots, and so on, as compared to the 750 or the R650, but still catering for most of the workloads that would sit in between those two models at a cost-effective price, and that's the whole reason for the XS range. Then you have the R750 and the R650, which are for the mainstream workloads, high-end virtualization environment to cater for a lot of virtual machines, and many other type of mainstream workloads. The R750 being from the 740 being the top-selling server from a PowerEdge perspective. Then lastly, you will have our two-socket AMD servers, the R7525 and the R6525. Now, these supporting the latest Milan processors that go up to 64 cores per single processor, giving it up to 128 total cores in the 2U rack or in a 1U rack format for the R6525. Then next to it, we have our HPC or high performance computing platforms, the C series that fit into our C6400 enclosure. It's the C6525 and the C6520. And next to it is our modular platform that goes into the MX7000, the MX750C. Now this is also has been refreshed with the latest third generation Intel CPUs supporting up to 40 cores. Now, as we have mentioned, that we now look at workload-focused platforms. Now, when you're looking at, starting from my left, you have mainstream workloads. Now, those mainstream workloads could be a database and analytics, could be a VDI or virtual desktop infrastructure, or you could have mixed workloads standardization. Now, the perfect platforms that fit there, as you see, is the R750, the R7525, the R650, and the R6525. Those are the platforms that you would use for general workloads or mainstream workloads. Now, looking at the next, which is optimized workload, and this is what we went through in the previous slide when we spoke about the R750XS and the R650XS. Now, these are for optimized workloads, specific virtualization or cloud environment that are medium in size, medium VM or virtual machine density that's required, depending on the organization. And this is where these platforms will fit in. Then we have our specialized workloads, which is our GPU optimized platforms when you're looking at workloads such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, DL training, and inference. Now, these are workloads that require a lot of GPU support. And also continue with the same, when we look at the C series, which is for high performance computing, looking at telco and edge with the XR11, and then looking at modular workloads with the MX750C that goes into your MX7000 platform. Now, looking at the new PowerEdge R750 in more detail. And as you can see here, one key thing to consider is that the 14G platforms are not going away. They will still exist for the foreseeable future. Hence, you see here, we are showing you all the platforms to consider when you're looking at the workloads. Now, depending on the workloads, you will then position the platform that relates to it mostly or that fits your workload more. Now, you have the option of the 740, 740XD, but also now we have newer platforms, which would be the 750XA. For those specialized workloads, you would have the R750, which gives you the mainstream workloads, and then you have the one for optimized workloads, which is the 750XS. As we have mentioned and went through the 750, these are the targeted workloads for the R750, which is enterprise customers, financial institutions, and higher education. Now, the 750 features full-featured enterprise server, delivering outstanding performance for the most demanding workloads. Now, looking in detail at the R750 here, I will introduce also some of the newer features that you will find in our 15G platforms, right? Now, starting off, you have 24 NVMe support. Previously, we only had this on the R840, but now we have it on the R750, allowing you to do a full drive inclusion of just NVMe, and support for up to 32 gig DIMMs now, 32 gig DDR4, and also still supporting Intel Optane persistent memory 200 series. Some of the key new things here you will see is that this platform support the Dell direct liquid cooling and the multi-vector cooling. Also, another new feature that you will find here is OCP3 for network cards. Previously, you would have your network daughter cards that have now been replaced with OCP 3.0, which offers much higher through output or connectivity for Ethernet. You have also another nice new feature, which is called BOSS S2, which is an improvement from the previous BOSS. Now, this one is a rear-facing BOSS. It's no longer inside the server; it is outside, allowing you to maintain, or when you have issues on the system with BOSS, and if you need to replace, it's just a simple plug and play. You no longer need to open up the server in order to gain access to the BOSS S2. We also now support hardware RAID for NVMe, which is quite nice, and we'll see now the adoption of NVMe and NVMe becoming the standard for storage because of its low latency offering. Now, taking a closer look at the R750XA, which is targeted for research institutions, render farms, and cloud service providers. Now, this is Dell's flagship server for GPU-based workloads. Now, this is purpose-built server is designed to boost acceleration performance across the widest range of customer needs. All the customer requirements with GPU requirements. We're seeing this with the adoption of work from home, where a lot of VDI instances now are being brought up. In terms of different VDI profiles, some of the most intense ones would require GPU support. Taking a closer look at the R70XA, similar to R750, it's also based on the third generation Intel Xeon scalable processors that go up to 40 cores. You have support for up to 32 gig DIMMs, 32 DDR4 DIMMs, and most noticeably, it's GPU optimized, allowing you up to 4 times double wide and 6 single wide PCI Gen 4 GPUs powered by NVIDIA and AMD. Looking at the Dell EMC PowerEdge R650, which is targeted for workloads such as traditional IT, higher education, and financial institution, right? Now, this is a full-featured enterprise server designed to optimize application performance and data center density. Since this is a one new rack platform offering you the ability to support 2 third generation Intel CPUs, but at a smaller form factor. More in detail into the Dell EMC PowerEdge R650, also supporting up to 32 DDR4 DIMMs, but like I said, this only utilizes one rack U. So for environments where density is a concern and they need, to fit more platforms within a rack for the different workloads, that could be high density virtualization, mixed workloads and data center standardization, or dense database analytics. Now, this will be the perfect platform for that. Looking at the Dell EMC C6520, compute dense server designed to boost data center performance and to address extreme compute at scale needs, right? The targeted market being enterprise customers with demanding compute performance workloads, financial and research institutions, and cloud providers. As we said before, this goes into the C6400, which can take up to 4 of these nodes. Taking a closer look at it, you can see within that C64 enclosure, you can fit up to 4 of these nodes, and each node taking up to 2 third generation Intel Xeon. Now, this is perfectly targeted for high performance computing, financial analysis, and high frequency trading. Then lastly, looking at the modular PowerEdge MX750C. Now, this is the node for the MX7000 enclosure, providing seamless scalability, flexibility, and agility for improved IT total cost of ownership. This is what enables you for your digital transformation. Now, taking a closer look at the MX750C, and then also remembering that this is a blade form factor, a half-width blade, taking only two third generation Intel processors, but however, still allowing you to have 32 DDR4 DIMMs, also supporting Intel Optane persistent memory. Now that we went through the Intel-based platforms, we will take a closer look at the AMD-powered third generation EPYC processors codenamed Milan. Now, this view gives an overall portfolio overview of what AMD offers from a Dell PowerEdge portfolio. You have the XE8545, you have the R7525, R6515, R615, R6525, and the C6525. We'll go more into detail on each one of these platforms. Now, looking at the GPU optimized PowerEdge XE8545. Now, this is a GPU optimized platform supporting up to 4 next-gen NVIDIA GPU, providing with an exceptional NVLink peer-to-peer bandwidth. Now, to digress a bit, what NVLink offers you now is, direct connectivity between your GPUs and the CPU. Before, you would rely on the PCI bus in order to do the communication, but with NVLink, we allow you to do direct communication between the GPUs and the CPU. Now, the targeted market for such platforms is research universities, financial institutions, and healthcare. The Dell optimized CPU and GPU performance, by pairing the maximum core count that comes from your Milan CPUs or processors with the highest performing NVIDIA A100 GPUs, and with the inclusion of that, NVLink gives you maximum, time to value, and providing a lot of GPU support for most of the workloads. So, looking at a closer look at the Dell EMC PowerEdge XE8545, as you can see, it can achieve between 6 and 7 inches of the machine learning performance, providing you support with all those GPUs, and with the AMD's 64 core CPU or processors, you can imagine the amount of power that comes out of that. Targeted workload being machine learning, HPC, and GPU visualization. Looking at the PowerEdge C6525, similar to what we spoke about, this goes on to the C6400 enclosure. This supports the AMD CPUs, targeted for digital market manufacturing, research institutions, and web tech. So, and if you think about the supercomputer that was built in San Diego, this was based on this platform. If you look looking at the C6525, it offers up to a maximum of 16 DDR4 RAM, allowing you to have a full 24 times NVMe backbone. That's still Gen 4, and still giving you options of PCI, and also supporting that OCP that we mentioned earlier. Looking at the 2-socket R6525, which is a one-U server that delivers performance and innovation to handle workloads like HPC, VDI, and virtualizations. Now, this is targeted at the customers that are enterprise customers, HPC research institutions, and private cloud. And because this allows for density, in a one-U rack, giving you a maximum of 128 cores, using those 2 Milan processors, this gives you a lot of power within that one-U rack. Looking into the details of the R6525, it can take up to 32 DDR4 in that one-U form factor. allowing up to 2 AMD processors, and also standardized, and also giving up to 3 single white GPUs. And as we have mentioned, workload sort of defined or aligned platforms, and also allow you to support a lot of these newer workloads that will require these newer technologies. Targeted workloads include HPC, dense VDI, and virtualization. Looking at the two-circuit PowerEdge R7525, based on our AMD sockets. Targeted workloads being enterprise customers, HPC, scale-out computing. Now, this is a performance machine giving you the maximum in terms of supported PCI slots, number of processors that are available, support for GPUs, and so on. Looking at it in more detail, the R7525 also supporting up to 2. It's a 2-socket server. 2U, however, supporting up to 280-watt AMD processors. Now, this still goes back to that chat that we had earlier around having a lot of components that generate quite a lot of heat and now needing to cool this down. As you can see, support for air and direct liquid cooling with LiquidSense technology into these platforms. This already allows you to do 128 cores within this 2U format, but also supporting a whole lot of additional cards by just looking at the amount of memory that you can take in, and up to 8 PCI Gen 4 slots. Now, imagine additional I/O that you can input there, allowing also for the support of GPUs. So all these components are going to be requiring clever ways to cool them down. The targeted workloads for that includes data analytics, all-flash, software-defined, and VDI. Touching on now on the single-socket AMD servers, which includes the PowerEdge R6515, targeted workloads being enterprise customers, scale-out computing, and telco. For environments that have space constraints, and density is quite a key. But looking at the maximum number of core counts or performance that is required, you now start looking at the R6515. Taking a closer look at the R615, as we've said, it's a single U platform catering for 2 AMD 64 core processors, targeted for virtualization, HCI, and NFV. The R7515, which is a single socket 2U server based to handle workloads like software-defined storage, visualization, and data analytics. Now, this is giving you the maximum in terms of the amount of slots that you could have for your software-defined environment when you're using technology such as vSAN. Some of the targeted workloads include enterprise customers, visualization, and software-defined. Dell EMC's PowerEdge R7515 being the single socket 2U, targeted for software-defined, as we have said, giving you a world record performance. It achieved a 9.2% higher SEP SD score of 36,600 benchmark users compared to the previous world record that was held. So as much as this is a single socket, you can see the amount of performance that you still get out of these platforms, and also supporting up to 24 200-inch Gen 3 NVMEs. That being, sort of a core behind that low latency that you get out of these systems. Now that we've went through the PowerEdge portfolio on both the Intel and AMD platforms, we'll take a closer look at systems management innovations that are included within the PowerEdge portfolio. Now, every PowerEdge platform ships with 2 key components, being iDRAC and Open Manager, right? iDRAC being the agentless chip that is built into your PowerEdge servers, and Open Manager being the software management that becomes the secret sauce. with Open Manager allowing you to cater or manage up to 8,000 devices in a single pane of glass. This includes servers, servers in forms of rack, tower, and modular, networking, and some powerful storage. You can manage all of this, including third-party infrastructure, using Open Manager. Now, also with the new ability of cloud, manage physical and virtual hosts from the same place. Thank you to everyone for taking time and listening to us. Hopefully, this was informative to you, and you have gained a lot of knowledge around our PowerEdge 15G offering. And if you have any questions going forth, you can always reach out to me or the Pinnacle team, and we'll gladly assist you and your customers. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for some great features, especially the hardware RAID and NVMe drives. We're excited to deploy the new PowerEdge 15 Gen servers to many of our customers across the country. May I now present Gerard Naidoo, Partner Systems Engineer at Dell South Africa.
More data-centric, more intelligent, more adaptable. Be ready for what comes next. With Dell EMC PowerStore, our customers have achieved unprecedented freedom to evolve their IT, to become more agile in a rapidly changing world. Now it's time to focus on what comes next. Are you ready? We're taking PowerStore to the next level with a powerful software update that delivers new enterprise innovation across the PowerStore portfolio. Plus, we've created a new cost-effective entry model that makes it even more accessible. The software update boosts the baseline performance of every PowerStore appliance, making them up to 25% faster, depending on your workloads. We've also added NVMe over Fiber Channel support to extend speed and low latency all the way to the host, while making sure you can use existing SAN infrastructures. New Intelligence prioritizes performance, optimizing even your heaviest workloads. Proven features like intelligent data reduction and our dynamic resiliency engine have become even smarter, working in the background to automate your IT's efficiency and availability. And enhanced SCM support offers more flexible ways to incorporate modern technology. With PowerStore's Apps On, you can now consolidate more workloads by clustering multiple appliances together. Scale Out with Apps On allows you to add compute and storage resources independently as needed, with unprecedented mobility from core to edge to cloud. And to dramatically reduce entry cost, we've introduced PowerStore 500. Now, more IT organizations can experience PowerStore's unique blend of performance, cost efficiency, and flexibility. It's all part of our plan to have PowerStore evolve with the changing world. Whether you're an existing customer or brand new to the PowerStore platform, this latest release will bring more agility to your IT environment, so you can be ready for what's next.
So hi everybody, good day. We're going to discuss an important launch for us that we did in April this year. It's a follow-on to PowerStore and the updates that we've made to the portfolio. So we're going to talk about the updates. We'll talk about a new model that's been added to the family. But I think, as we get into that, let's do a quick recap in terms of, what we launched last year in May, right? So PowerStore was launched in May last year, and, it was a completely different or new platform that we created from a storage point of view. And, we're seeing huge progress with the platform since the launch last year. And since the launch, we've worked on multiple new features, new functionalities, new efficiencies that we've now added to the platform that both our existing customers can take advantage of and newer customers can take advantage of, right? So, like I mentioned, PowerStore was built from the ground up, right? Not based on any of our other platforms. And let's look at some of the features and functionality that PowerStore brought us, right? The first thing was the ability to support multiple workloads, right? So whether you want to consolidate file workloads, block workloads, and even now container workloads, you can now consolidate all of these different applications and workloads onto a single storage platform, right? So we support protocols like Fiber Channel, iSCSI, NFS, and SMB for file. And so it really becomes a single platform that customers can use to consolidate their workloads onto a single storage platform, right? And then we built the platform to make sure that we're taking advantage of the latest technologies, things like NVMe, and really optimize the platform for performance, right? So taking advantage of the NVMe protocol, and also taking advantage of next generation media like storage class memory or SEM drives, right? All of these new technologies, gives our customers really high performance with low latencies to really take care of those applications where they can't afford any, latency or performance challenges. Okay. And then we built on the efficiencies that we've had with other platforms with our deduplication and compression technologies that we have built into PowerStore, right? So, we're offering a 4-to-1 data reduction guarantee on PowerStore to ensure that, customers are buying the smallest footprint possible to really take care of their applications, right? So we've got a dedicated Intel chip that takes care of compression, and we've got a really advanced deduplication algorithm that really helps to ensure efficiencies for customers storing their applications and data on PowerStore. Okay, and if we move into the intelligence piece of PowerStore, we wanted to ensure that customers who are looking for automation in the data center can now incorporate PowerStore into that automation journey or that DevOps journey that customers are on these days. Okay, so we've created integration points or APIs into some of the industry standard automation tools, things like VMware vRealize Automation, Ansible, and so on. So we've created the platform to be able to integrate into customers, automation tools and automation journey into their data center. Okay. The other thing that we've done is we've created or added a machine learning engine to the platform that really allows the platform to rebalance workloads, to give you intelligent insight on the platform, so that there's minimal administration from a cluster point of view. Okay, so a lot of these tasks and management tasks and monitoring tasks can be done automatically in the back end to allow customers to focus on other areas of their IT environment. Okay. And then, with Cloud IQ supporting PowerStore as well, customers can really take advantage of the proactive health analytics that's available with PowerStore, right? So, Cloud IQ, like you might know, from other products that we have in the storage portfolio, provides great insight into a customer storage environment, right? So Cloud IQ will collect data from your PowerStore system and present some really important information back to you through a cloud portal. Right? So you can see things like the health status of your environment. You could see performance challenges or issues that may arise in your environment. And customers can really log in from anywhere, right? Being a cloud-based tool, customers can even log onto their app on their mobile device to see what's happening in their storage environment. Okay. And then I think one of the most important pieces of PowerStore is the adaptability of it, right? So we have a flexible architecture, right? With the container-based architecture, we can take advantage of new features and new functionality a lot more faster, right? So compared to traditional monolithic type applications, we can now make changes to the platform. We can add new features and functionality a lot more faster. And you'll see that in the next couple of slides when I talk about the new features and functionalities that have just been launched. So this container-based architecture really allows for flexibility to allow us to make more changes to the platform and allow our customers to take advantage of those new features and functionality. Okay. And then we have the flexible deployment option, right? So we know that PowerStore is available in a Model T, which is a traditional storage appliance. And then there's the Model X, right? The Model X is where we support the ability for customers to deploy VMware ESXi on top of the PowerStore appliance to allow them to run virtual machines and applications on the storage appliance itself. Okay, so that's a game changer. There's nobody else in the market doing something like that. And so, customers can deploy it in multiple ways. And we also support PowerStore in our converged infrastructure, the VX block, And then coming soon, PowerStore will be available as a software-defined storage platform as well. Okay, so a lot of flexibility in how we can deploy PowerStore. And lastly, flexible consumption models, right? So if you've got customers that want to take advantage of, different financial models around acquiring PowerStore, get in touch with the Pinnacle team, get in touch with the Dell team, and we can, have a look at what options are available for your particular customer. So, since the launch of PowerStore in May last year, we've seen a lot of traction with customers, but we've also seen a lot of buzz around some of the industry publications like Storage Review and Tech Target, right? If you're interested in having a look at some of those, go and visit their websites, and you can see some of the things that customers and both industry people are saying about PowerStore. Okay. And you'll receive also that, PowerStore has already won 2 Product of the Year awards, right? So we're especially proud to have our innovation recognized by, publications like the CRN. And then, a lot of our customers are looking into these publications before they're investing in any of our technology. So it's great to see that recognition by CRN as well. And also at the same time, we're seeing a lot of customer adoption. Right, we're seeing that grow exponentially since the launch, and we're not just seeing it in the numbers, but we're also seeing it in the different industries that are investing into PowerStore. Okay, but we're really keen to see and have a chat to customers who are deploying it in their production environments, and we want to see the difference that PowerStore makes with their applications, with their business in general. So we can keep improving, and also at the same time, understand what's happening from a customer point. So, we've definitely not been, resting on our laurels for the last 12 months. We're seeing PowerStore steadily advancing via, multiple code releases. And today, really, I'm excited to talk to you about the changes that we've made. In fact, we've made these changes and announced these changes in April this year. And new systems shipping from June will ship with the new version of version 2 of PowerStore, and customers with the existing deployments can take advantage of all the version 2 features and functionality, which I'm going to talk to you about in the next few slides. In addition to that, version 2 of PowerStore, we've also launched a new entry into the family, to the PowerStore family. That's the PowerStore 500, right? So it's a new release. Again, the launch was done in April, and the system will be ready for shipping in June. Okay, so it is available as we speak. I think June 10th is when it's officially shipping. But you can definitely quote on the system, configure the system, but orders will be accepted from June the 10th. Okay. So let's get into it. Let's talk about some of the features, right? So, like I mentioned, there's two releases, right? The first release is the software update. So we're moving from version 1 to version 2, right? So this is more performance and intelligence across the platform, right? And like I mentioned, existing customers can upgrade non-disruptively, right, at no cost to them. And the second important thing is the introduction of the PowerStore 500, which is a new entry, lower cost model into the PowerStore platform. So you'll see all of the features, functionality of the PowerStore family now in a smaller model into the as an entry into the family. Okay. And like I mentioned, we did the launch in April 20th, and then general availability for the PowerStore 500, as well as new platforms with version 2 will be June 10th. Okay. So let's talk about some of the new features, right? So this is at a high level the new features and functionality that we've added to version 2 of PowerStore. Right. The first is that customers will immediately see a performance boost for every PowerStore model, right? So customers with existing deployments of PowerStore will immediately see this when they're upgrading to version 2. And other things that we've introduced are, NVMe over Fabric. Okay, so now we're supporting NVMe all the way from a host level right down to the back end of the storage system. Okay, so customers will immediately see, performance from an application point of view quite significantly improve. Okay. And then we've also introduced the scale out capability for the X model, right? So the apps on feature or the X model of PowerStore now has the capability to scale out, right? So customers can start with one platform now, and they can add other platforms to the cluster later on. Okay. And then we've made some changes across the intelligence of PowerStore as well, right? So we've made some changes around the data reduction, right? So we're seeing a lot more enhancement around the data reduction, so customers can see better data reduction ratios. We've introduced dual parity protection from a drive point of view, right? So customers that want that RAID 6 type protection in their environment, where they want dual parity or protection against 2 drive failures, can now deploy this on PowerStore, right? And then the other thing that we've done is that we're now supporting SEM or storage class media as a metadata tiering layer within PowerStore as well. Okay, so now you can add a couple of SEM drives as a metadata tiering layer within your storage environment to increase your performance. Okay. And then lastly is the PowerStore 500, right? So this is a great starting point for customers, priced extremely well. And you can see in terms of capacity, 1.2 petabytes effective in a 2U appliance is, a significant amount of capacity that customers can get. And then still supporting the same kind of features, functionality that you're seeing across the other models, right? So support for block, file, vvols, containers, and you can even mix and match the 500 with other models in a cluster. Okay, so a great entry platform for customers that are looking for cost-effective storage platform that has great features, great integration into automation, and great performance as well, right? And customers can now take advantage of that newer platform. So let's talk about the innovation of the features in a little bit more detail, right? So let's talk about we'll talk about the new features, and then we'll talk about the PowerStore 500 in more detail. So the first thing that customers are going to see with version 2 is the performance increases, right? So we're going to see up to 25% faster performance from a mixed workloads point of view, and you could see up to 65% faster writes in a PowerStore environment as well, right? So real world type workloads where there's a 70-30% read-write mix can experience that 25% IOPS boost, right? And the other thing is that the important thing to remember here is that customers with existing deployments can take advantage of these new performance increases, right? And this is a free of charge update that's available for customers. And then, like I mentioned, from the 10th of June, every new PowerStore that gets shipped will ship with version 2, so customers can see a lot more efficiency and performance increases. Okay. So great to see this, and also great to see customers with existing deployments see the benefit as well. And this is one of the benefits of PowerStore, right? That container-based architecture allows us to make changes a lot more faster, so customers can evolve as our features and functionality allows them to, right? So new efficiency, new performance, and new features and functionality, like I mentioned as well, right? So you might ask yourself, how was this optimization done? How were we able to achieve this boost in performance? And really was a result of a number of optimizations within the data part, right? And overall architectural improvements, right? So we've made changes to the architecture. We've made some optimizations in terms of how we write data. And this really is our ongoing commitment to enhancing the capabilities of the PowerStore platform for our customers. Okay. PowerStore was built from the ground up, right? And I mentioned this, earlier in the presentation is, when we launched PowerStore last year, we mentioned that it was really built from the ground up, so customers can really take advantage of, modern storage media, take advantage of protocols like NVMe. So, customers have been very enthusiastic about the low latency that NVMe allows us to achieve, right? So, when we first introduced it, we saw 7 times more faster performance than Unity XT as an example, right? So, in the initial release, NVMe was used within the appliance, right? So everything internally, communication used to happen using the NVMe protocol versus the SCSI protocol, and that allowed us to have faster performance in the backend, right? But now with version 2, we can now extend NVMe benefits across the network with the NVMe over Fiber Channel support, right? So NVMe over Fabric is a much more efficient protocol and scalable protocol compared to the SCSI protocol. And it's really designed to make an external network array feel like, it's direct attached to the host as an example, okay? So we are now introducing this, NVMe protocol all the way from a host right down to the storage platform as well. And, customers can take advantage of this just by, doing the software updates, right? And if a customer's already got the 32 gig fiber channel IO modules, there's no need for any additional PowerStore hardware for customers to take advantage of this, right? So a lot of customers won't need to swap out some of their network gear as well, right? So if you've got customers that have 32 gig capable switches and HBAs, there's a good chance that customers may be just able to activate the new capability in the software and really transforming that entire environment, right? So any hosts that support NVMe can now use the protocol to talk to PowerStore, while SCSI hosts can continue, with no changes to their environment, right? So PowerStore can handle both protocols at the same time, right? So if you've got hosts using the SCSI protocol and you've got some hosts utilizing the NVMe protocol, we can manage both at the same time, right? So whether customers have an immediate plan for NVMe over Fiber Channel, this capability shows the flexibility and the investment protection that PowerStore can give them. Okay, so we continue to lead with new technologies. We continue to lead with taking advantage of newer features, functionality, and this is still an ongoing process, right? So still an ongoing roadmap with Fiber Channel to take it with PowerStore, to take advantage of new features and functionality into the future as well. So let's talk about the apps on feature, right? In our initial release, we introduced the apps on feature or the PowerStore X model, right? So this was the only purpose-built storage array with the built-in capability to run a VMware hypervisor, right? So it's a very unique functionality that allows customers to reduce their storage footprint or their data center footprint by eliminating the need for additional hardware from a server point of view, right? So what AppsOn gave customers the ability to do was to run virtual machines and applications directly on their storage appliance, and that really gave customers things like low latency performance, a really smaller footprint and consolidation, and kind of mobility from your VMware environment perspective, right? So you could move virtual machines from traditional ESX servers onto PowerStore and vice versa. So that was kind of the overall AppsOn advantage that gave customers the ability to run virtual machines and applications directly on the storage appliance. But now with PowerStore version 2, we're now adding the ability for customers to cluster out or cluster multiple appliances of their X model, right? So initially we started off with a single X model in a cluster. We can now scale that out to 4 appliances in a cluster, and this can now customers now have the ability to mix and match different PowerStore models using the AppsOn feature, right? So you can now move your AppsOn workloads or your virtual machines or applications freely within a cluster, and have, like I mentioned, different models and different models taking advantage of different performance capabilities as well, right? So if you have a virtual machine, that requires a lot of performance, you could easily move that virtual machine to a higher model of PowerStore to give them that additional performance. Okay. So, more nodes in a cluster equals more capacity, but it also gives you more, aggregate compute power, right? So you can now rebalance X model appliances as your needs change, right? So if a customer starts off with a 1,000 now and foresees, more performance requirements in the future, could add a 3,000, a 5,000, and so on into their cluster as their needs change, right? So management becomes a lot easier. And also clustering gives you a single stretched vVol container across all of the appliances, right? So it's a single pool of storage that's available to all of the nodes. So you can really treat your PowerStore cluster just like you would any other VMware hosting environment, right? So a lot of flexibility and ease of use for customers, okay? So, this release of the Epson edition or the version 2 of this functionality makes it more practical and beneficial for customers that are looking to invest in a platform that has flexibility in terms of how they can scale out, right? So whether it be storage intensive applications at the edge, where customers are deploying applications for workloads or infrastructure for IoT, or whether that be like, an on-site healthcare analytics environment, leveraging things like MongoDB and other applications, it really becomes a platform that you could use in multiple different ways, right? So, a great benefit for customers to take advantage of here on the PowerStore X model and the scale-out capability of the X model. So let's talk about some of the changes that we've made to the intelligence part of PowerStore. Right, so we'll talk about some of the features there. Okay, so one of the several ways in which we've evolved the intelligence of PowerStore was through a series of enhancements that we've done on the intelligent data reduction. Okay, so from the start, PowerStore data reduction has always been completely hands-free and automated. Right, there was no intervention needed from a customer point of view. All of this data reduction happened in the backend, and all of it was inline. Right, so the always-on nature combined with the the hardware-based compression that I mentioned earlier, and the overall efficiency of the platform really helps customers to guarantee or us to guarantee a 4-to-1 data reduction for our customers. Right, so we've spoken about this multiple times, especially when PowerStore was launched. The 4-to-1 data reduction guarantee that we've maintained on the PowerStore doesn't require any assessment. Right, so there's no assessment required, and that 4-to-1 data reduction is something that we guarantee as part of our future-proof loyalty program. Right, so now with PowerStore 2.0 or version 2, the capability is enhanced even more. Right, so we can now optimize capacity and performance at the same time, and all of this is done, automatically in the backend. Right, so how does this work? So under periods of extreme performance or I/O demand from an application point of view, PowerStore's inline deduplication, which happens automatically in the backend, can be temporarily deferred to kind of reduce the CPU utilization, and then we can allow workloads and applications to prioritize that I/O. Right, so we can now pause the data reduction to kind of give the system the ability to serve that I/O to the applications and workloads. Right, so we call this a kind of like a turbo mode. Right, so we're giving the system basically up to 20% more IOPS, and then we keep the performance consistently high even under like really extreme performance conditions. Okay, so the system kind of tracks any skipped blocks that we haven't reduced. And then we'll also always return back to recover the space saving by doing a post-process data reduction. And this has no impact on the overall data reduction ratios on the system. Okay, so all of this is automated and done in the backend. So there's no need for a customer to intervene in any way or set up this feature in any way. We will automatically in the backend give applications the performance it needs, pause the data reduction and come back to it later on when the system doesn't have as much I/O to take to serve to those applications, right? So great intelligence built into the platform, and all of this is automated. So you don't need any manual intervention there. So in our initial release of PowerStore, we supported only a single parity redundancy option, right? So now with version 2, we've added a dual redundancy or dual parity redundancy to the platform as well, right? So now customers can choose whether they want a single or dual parity redundancy option from a drive point of view. So there's more flexibility in terms of how customers want to protect their data. Okay. So all of this is done in the back end. It's always 100% software based, right? So the sparing method has always kind of provided customers with more efficiency and an automated way to protect their data in the array. And then customers at the very start can choose whether they want single or dual parity. Okay. So it gives the customer more flexibility, 98% less management effort required from the customer compared to like traditional RAID, right? So software RAID will be the automated in the back end. And then we automate all of the other complex processes associated, with the drive configuration, with the redundancy, with the sparing. So we can add drives also one drive at a time, right? And we can also mix drive sizes to meet different cost goals as well. Okay, so that's a great way of expanding a system and a low-cost way of expanding the system as well. Right? And everything is managed by this intelligent software in the back end, right down to replenishing a spare capacity if a drive fails. So you never have any lapse in the protection levels that you've set on the system. Okay. So great resiliency at a much lower cost and flexibility that customers can take advantage of. So Dell is also, we're looking to drive the adoption of storage class memory, right? And now with version 1, we could add SCM for persistent storage in a platform, right? So if a customer wanted to utilize the low latency, high performance of SCM, could add SCM drives to their DPE or the base enclosure. And now with version 2, we're now adding the ability or the capability of adding SCM intelligence as a metadata tier within a PowerStore deployment, right? So we can combine the SCM drives and the NVMe flash drives in the same chassis. In version 1, we couldn't do this, right? If you started off with NVMe, you had to stick with NVMe. If you started off with SCM, you had to stick with SCM in the base enclosure, right? So we can now mix SCM with the NVMe drives to give that additional layer of metadata tiering for customers that want that little bit more performance in their environment. Okay. So in the base chassis, you can choose between SCM and NVMe drives, and then SCM will allow those SCM drives will increase the speed of the metadata access, while you still continue to use NVMe drives in the base enclosure as well. Okay, so metadata we know serves an important role in the overall performance of the system, right? So once data is out of the primary cache in the controllers, the metadata reads or faster metadata reads give workloads a lot more quicker access to the data that they need. Okay, so we're seeing up to 15% more performance from a latency point of view, right? So we've seen a 15% improvement in the latency when adding SCM as a metadata tier in the platform. Okay, so really ideal for customers or active data sets that move out of cache quickly, right? So a lot of customers will find a lot of benefit in this regard versus the cost that the additional SCM would give them, right? So great benefit there for a lower cost that customers can take advantage of. So those are the new features and functionality that we're seeing or that we've introduced on PowerStore, right? Let's talk about the new hardware, the new platform that we've introduced, which is the PowerStore 500. Okay, so we're really pleased to announce the new, entry into the family of the PowerStore 500, right? So kind of makes the overall platform more accessible, and by lowering the entry point into the PowerStore 500, right? So we'll see a lot more customers now moving to PowerStore because of this new model and the new price point that it gives us. Okay, so it's it inherits all of the technology and the features and functionality that we spoke about, right? So it can cluster. We can cluster multiple models within the same cluster. NVMe SEM drive support, the same I/O options, right? The same container-based architecture and integrations. It's still got the 4-to-1 data reduction guarantee. Still part of the anytime upgrade program. So a smaller footprint, a lower entry cost, but the same features and functionality, right? So on the 500T, we take advantage of the Cascade Lake processor from Intel, right? And we still has great performance, excellent performance, like the other platforms that we're seeing as well. And the price point is really, really good, right? So if you want to see what the price point is, get in touch with the Pinnacle team, and they can help you configure, spec, and price the PowerStore, and you'll be really surprised at the price that we're putting out on the PowerStore 500. Okay, so you're getting a really good enterprise class storage array with all of the really good features, functionality that I spoke about at a really good price point, right? So supports multiple workloads. Again, all of the performance from an NVMe point of view, same I/O support that we have, fiber channel, iSCSI, file protocols as well. And again, like I mentioned, can cluster with any of the PowerStore T models as well, right? So we've got the same capability from a scalability point of view, right? So with the PowerStore 500, we don't have the ability to scale up, but we do have the capability to scale out, right? So in a single appliance, in the 2U enclosure, the base enclosure, we can go up to 1.2 petabytes effective in a single appliance, right? So that's a lot of capacity. But if that's not enough, you can scale out up to 4 appliances in a single cluster, right? So that you can get up to 4.8 petabytes effective in a single cluster if you're scaling only PowerStore 500s, but you have the capability of mixing and matching with our other PowerStore T models as well, right? So you can mix a 500 with a 5,000, a 3,000, and so on, right? So gives customers flexibility in terms of how they can scale, and can take advantage of more performance from other models in the cluster as well, right? PowerStore 500 also supports the PowerStore Metro node, right? So for customers that want that high availability, zero RPO, RTO across sites, can take advantage of the PowerStore Metro node as well. So to put the PowerStore 500 in context, right? We're seeing up to 1,500 low latency desktops per 2U appliance. That's significant, right? And up to 2.4 million transactions per minute on SQL databases, right? So a lot of great performance on the PowerStore 500 that also has the ability to scale out as well. So, PowerStore 500 can be for any type of industry, right? So any type of customer in any type of industry, whether that be in retail, manufacturing, healthcare, and so on, right? So all customers can take advantage of the low cost, high performance, compact 2U appliance that has a lot of the automated features and functionality in the back end as well. So how does the 500 compare with other models? As you can see, it packs a pretty decent punch being an entry into the PowerStore family, right? So up to 1.2 petabytes in a single appliance. We can scale out up to 4.8 petabytes by clustering, other appliances. And, we still support NVMe flash drives, the SEM drives. We've still got the same I/O capability as well. Okay, so we'll share this slide or this deck with everybody so you can have a look at the specs and all of the features and functionality as well. So this is just a quick overview on all of the new features and functionality that we've added right? So, compared to version 1, a lot of great features were part of the initial release, but we've added even more great functionality and features in version 2 as well, right? So the innovations will continue to come, right? We're not just stopping here. The roadmap has quite a number of features and functionality, right? So in the meantime, customers can take advantage of better performance, right? Scale out of the Epson model, a new cost-effective entry into the family, which is the PowerStore 500, and all of the features and functionality that we talked about in our initial release as well. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. Thank you very much for your time, and please feel free to get in touch with the Pinnacle team or with us to cover anything else in more detail, and we're happy to support you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerard. The PowerStore 500 is going to be a game changer, especially with a lot of these feature sets, and we'll be assisting a lot of our customers in future. I really hope you come away with some ideas on where these new products will help meet your customers' changing business and IT needs. But if you need any assistance or more information on any of the Dell's products and solutions, please feel free to contact us at dellsolutions@pinnacle.co.za. I want to thank you again for joining Pinnacle and attending this enablement event. Goodbye for now.